Hello, I'm commenting today on Steve Arterburn's book, Healing is a Choice. In this book, he's once again exposes himself to who he is, just a humanist with no real faith in God at all. And he starts it off saying, making this in the introduction, 3 or 4 times he makes a statement that healing is within us, is that we have been given, we have the ability to heal ourselves, and we can heal our emotions. We can be healed emotionally and spiritually through ourselves, an innate ability. We have an innate ability to heal ourselves emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Although it's impossible to heal yourself spiritually, because spirituality, he doesn't understand what spirituality is. Spirituality is when a person becomes in union with God through Jesus Christ, through the death of Jesus Christ, so accepting the sacrifice of Christ. And now you communicate with God, and God communicates with you. You talk to Him, and He talks to you. And the miraculous becomes an everyday occurrence, because you are speaking with God, and God is speaking with you, and you are observing God move in your life. And that's the main thing that happens in Christianity. It's not you start doing, performing. You start observing. You start seeing God. God speaks to you directly, and you see God move, and that is exciting. But Mr. Arterburn has no idea what that even is. He states in this book, and also in this other book that I've been reading, Toxic Faith, that a miracle, the definition of a miracle, is something that rarely happens. That's the definition of a miracle. But that's not the definition of a miracle. A definition of a miracle is God intervening in the natural world from His world, from His plane into this world, from the eternal into the temporal, and changing things. And God doesn't. I've seen hundreds of miracles. If you know Christ, you know what I'm talking about. If you're walking with God by faith, you know that miracles happen all the time. God speaks to you, and then you see God perform what He said He was going to do. It's not your performance. It's not. Christianity is not a performance-orientated religion. It is an observing religion. I know God, and now I know His ways, and now I'm watching Him move. That's what happens in the Bible. Here, God moves the Red Sea. He heals. He does whatever He wants to, because He's God. He's not limited by the natural world. So Mr. Arterburn has no idea what a miracle is. He states here that because of his failed marriage, he started praying that God would create a miracle to save his marriage. But he didn't lay around waiting for God to do that. He went out and proactively went to counseling and talked to people, and talked to his friends and his other cohorts in the psychology genre. And he said, then no miracle came. Well, of course no miracle came. You didn't ask God for a miracle. You don't know God. You can't just pray and expect God to answer unless you are walking in a relationship of faith with God. And who knows what God's will is? You can't say God's will is this, I'm going to pray for it, and if it didn't happen, then a miracle didn't happen. You're saying God has to perform for you, and if it didn't happen, then there's no miracles. That's ludicrous. That's saying, God, jump through this hoop for me. If you don't do it, then I don't believe in miracles. That's called tempting God. God, perform, or I don't believe in you. So, this is the gist of his book. He goes through another thing here that's very interesting. It is all works oriented. Everything he has is about works. Doing. So he shares a story in the Toxic Faith book that I've heard before by people who don't know God. It's like there's two little girls, and they need to get to school, and they've been late for school. So they get up, and they're both late. So one of them runs to school and prays as she runs, and the other one lays, as he puts it, in a ditch and prays. Now, which one is obeying? Which one is the right one? Of course, the way that it is framed, the way this question is framed, it looks like the girl is in the ditch is a fool, or he calls her and people who do such things lazy Christians. You're a lazy Christian. If you wait on God, you seek God before you step out. You wait and you pray and you seek. Waiting is equated with trust. Trust is equated with patience. Patience is equated with faith. And without faith, it is impossible to please God. You have to wait on God. And he doesn't understand this. And as he says, I didn't wait for God to do anything. I just proactively got out. And of course, his wife left him, and his marriage failed. Supposedly, according to, because of the chapter, for introduction, because she was a monster. So, I'm sure it was all Eve's fault. So at any rate, my story goes, the little girl ran ahead, and she was eaten by a bear. That's what happened to her. Because she didn't wait on God. Now, there's many, many, many examples in the Bible of people who did not wait for God, and they all came to a bad end. When they were being pressed by the forces of their enemies, by the devil, and they waited. And God renewed their strength. God did miracles because they waited, and they didn't try to step out ahead of God. So, anyways, I feel sorry for Mr. Arterburn, but please do not follow him, read his books, or in any way consider him to be a leader. So, that's all for right now. Thank you.